We talk about Purushartha, where Dharma,
Artha, Kam,
Kam, and Moksha all comes in. Dharma is balance. Artha is
resources,
not only resource.
money.
It is that also. It is knowledge also.
Okay.
It is meaning of life. जिंदगी का क्या अर्थ रह गया? If you go into the root of that word, it's not only हम लोग बहुत simply उसको अर्थशास्त्र इकोनॉमिक्स बोल के चला रहे हैं, but अर्थ means something which gives you the foundation to build upon something. If you have money, you can invest and you can build something more, right? If you have knowledge, you can invest that knowledge into doing something and you can build on that. Ka means action. Ma is the limitation of that, or finitization of that action. So you need to build upon it. You need a targeted finite activity plan like you do. So your karma is directed towards achieving that artha. With your artha, you want to reach to moksha. We need to have that karma, or you cannot do that because it is the doing of an action with a finite goal, with a finite thing, and not for yourself. Because the whole Kam Shastra is about giving pleasure to the other. It is not pleasure for myself.
Namaste. Welcome back everyone with this another session with Pinaki Gangopadhyay ji. After that wonderful presentation, now we have gathered here to discuss about this book that has been written by Pinaki Gangopadhyay ji, God, Science and Reality. This book, as suggested by Prabuddha Bharata Ramakrishna Mission, is a must-read for modern people seeking transcendental knowledge. Just for the sake of the interview, I'll first of all introduce Pinaki ji as well. Pinaki Gangopadhyay is an author, poet and independent researcher in the field of science and religion, with special emphasis on the convergence, unification and evolution of human thoughts. Pinaki ji speaks at Ramakrishna Mission and various other forums championing Indology, Sanskrit and science in the Vedas and Puranas in his unique inclusive dialogue style. Pinaki ji has authored a biofiction on life of Rabindranath Tagore titled Yet Remember Me. Currently it is under publication from a leading global publishing house. Pinaki ji has also authored this book that we are going to discuss today, that is God, Science and Reality. This explores the field of consciousness, cosmology, quantum physics, philosophy and perceived reality. Welcome sir to this session. So before we start, I want to congratulate you for this third edition of your book. And I also want to emphasize to our viewers that this book is used as reference in these university libraries around the world. There are around 13-14 libraries and universities around the globe, top universities, in which this book is used as a reference. So sir, let's start. Please tell us what this book is about and how so many people are talking about it around the globe.
Okay, so thank you Akshayji, and thank you to all the Sangam Talk viewers. It's a privilege to come back here every time. So this book started way back in, this book was first published in 2012. Okay. And it was an outcome of a long research of 10 years where I was delving deep into the verb-based semantics of Sanskrit and decoding. So this is the first attempt on, first book that came out in that. In this book, basically what we are trying to do is to create a circle of reason, like what. First of all, let me tell you, this book is structured as a dialogue. It's the Upanishadic style of dialogue, and where there are 4 actors in this part, and one is a theoretical physicist, and then you have a philosopher, a Western philosopher. You have another atheist, and a humanist and natural scientist, and the 4th is a Maharshi, who is an prototype, or is a representation of the Vedic knowledge. He is called Savarna, Maharshi Savarna.
Okay.
And Savarna Maharshi actually clarifies the doubts that arises in the minds of these other three people. So he can imagine Savarna Maharshi embodying the spirit of Swami Vivekananda, Sri Ramakrishna, or Rishi Aurobindo, and many others. So that was the idea, to have a conversation with the reader in these areas which from the outside it's a very tough thing to do for a normal reader, and hence I try to make it simple in terms of where this convergence, my religion teaches me something, my day-to-day job tells me to do something exactly opposite of what my religion tells me. So what is the reality in between? And in order to search that, this was my own quest, which ultimately took shape in a form of a book. But writing a book was never the objective when I started, but it was to clarify my own doubts, and I had many volumes of notes that I had taken over the period, and then that all crystallized into this book. So that's it. And then again, this is something which is kind of, I am only the stitcher, as a tailor, I am the stitcher of this. The knowledge is all our 5,000 to 10,000 years old civilizational knowledge, and then the Western knowledge also. So merging those two shores of East and West, and creating a single concise narrative of where we stand, what we do, and what is the meaning, removing the age-old wrong notions on certain concepts, was all that I tried to do.
So what is this subheading about? Audacity of reason and tenacity of truth. What does that mean?
Yeah, see, the limited mind is always shows that audacity, that it can grasp the infinite truth.
Okay.
Okay. We forget our limitations, the limitations of this mind. We think that we can grasp all the truth of the world, but and that's why it is called the audacity of reason. And tenacity of truth is, no matter how you approach it and how long it is, so the truth prevails. So that is the truth. The ultimately the truth will prevail. Satyameva jayate. Right. So you will have that, and these two things, once one understands that, okay, reason can only take me to a certain point, because our system is more experiential. Okay. Where there's a direct experience of these things, and your truth is your experience. Truth is not someone else's. You may have a guru, you may have someone, but that's a direct communication that you have.
That's why all the gurus, I think, say that we have to seek our own path.
Yes.
Nobody can show it to us.
Yes. It is, the best example I can give you is like when Edmund Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary climbed the Mount Everest. So there were Sherpas along with him climbing. No one knows about those Sherpas.
Right.
But they have to climb on their own. The Sherpas were behind them. And our civilizational knowledge, our gurus, not only my direct guru, but the entire, so whoever work I have read, and to mention Ravi Chakravarti, Kalim Khan, and all the other people, I'm deeply influenced by Swami Vivekananda, Sri Aurobindo, and so all these my gurus, I have been an Ekalavya sitting behind the tree and learning from them, and not directly but indirectly through their work and all. So this is a compilation that brings those things together.
So when I was going through the book, I was looking at its structure or index, I would say. So it is very interestingly divided in 5 sections. As I see, the atheist's God, nature, man, science, mechanism of knowledge, then architecture of religion, and the last part is the light of perfection. Can you briefly tell us about each of these sections?
Yes, absolutely. It's just that I have to find the section. So see, the conversation, it's a dialogue. The conversation starts with a name and form, because the moment we say Akshay, right? Say your name is Akshay. So if there are 4 Akshayas in the class and the teacher comes and calls out for Akshay, so 4 of you will stand up. But this is a division, because from the rest of the 30 students, these 4 Akshayas are standing up. So name is the first form of division, and that name gives also the then you associate. Okay, so this Akshay may be fair, this may be tall, this may be not so tall. So now you are describing on the form. Okay, so this name and form actually creates the division between individual. Okay, that's the first thing that it starts with. And then it goes into talking about the personal God. So the Western concept or Abrahamic concept of personal God, the God who is the all-merciful, or who is giving me sins and giving me punishment for my wrongdoings. So that God is not the God of the Sanatan Dharma. Okay, Sanatan Dharma does not understand that God.
Angry God.
No, not only angry God, that personal God. We have Ishta Devata. That may be my personal preference. I may personally like to worship Shiva. So that may be my preference.
Correct.
But that is not the God who is the ordainer of this universe and all. So we have a far bigger concept of God. So that's where we start.
Layers of God, if
yes,
I can say.
Yes, layers of gods also. See, there we say that 33 crore devata, devis and devata. But this crore or koti, right? Koti is not crores. We have to understand koti as layers. So that is a 33 types of gods. Like 2 koti makan, 3 koti makan, right? Similarly, you will have 33 koti gods, out of which 12 are Adityas, the sun, 11 are Rudra, 2 are Ashwins, 8 Vasu. So you have 20, then 31, and then 2 Ashwins. Okay, so that's how. So if you look at it, 7 sun, the combination is like this. The 12 Adityas, whom we pray in Surya Namaskar, there are 12, right? So they are the consciousness, related to the consciousness. The 7 Vasus are related to nature. Okay. So Krishna is fathered by Vasudev.
Right.
Yeah, you see the connection now? Why Krishna has a Vasudev as a father? And no other, because Vasudev is fostering, is a foster father. And that's where Vasudev, that's where Krishna is being, if you see,
raised.
Raised, and then means if it is a gravity, then in this earth it has to be raised in that way by the nature. And then you have the Ashwins. They're normally called as your what I would say, more of doctor type people, type of God. Okay, and you have what, 11 Rudras. Rudras are giving body. Okay, so you have consciousness, body, nature, and the people who actually guide and give you that. So that is the structure. Then we delve into this whole concept of pap, punya, punishment, hell, heaven, and all.
It's in a probability you have written as a chapter. I was going through it briefly. So, what does it talk about? Can you tell us briefly?
Sin as a probability, what it basically means is, what is a sin to you or in one context is not a sin in another context. Right. So depending what is adharma, we don't have a sin concept of sin, we have adharma. So anything that breaks the balance of the
Universe.
universe, or balance of my society, or balance of my home, or balance in any relationship. So all this would be my sins if I'm disturbing that balance. And that's why I'm saying you have a sin as a probability. It is not final. Something is not sinful, like Arjun killing his entire cousin brothers is not sin, it's dharma. While in another case, in a family problem, someone kills his own cousin and says, okay, I'm Arjun, so this is dharma. That's not.
While Duryodhan, when he was doing it, it would have been a sin, sort of.
Yeah, because so that's the distinction. Okay, and then we delve into the concept of happiness and what is said in our scriptures, like the Prahlad, right? I have tried to intermix a lot of these mythological stories, because mythological stories, when you break it down into the Sanskrit root words, it gives a very different meaning. So this Prahlad and why Hiranyakashipu and all that. Next, we move into the section of Maya, nature, and science, which is more on more to do with your science and religion, or our religion and science.
Okay.
Okay, where we are talking about Maya and Brahman, equating Maya with Prakriti or nature, and Brahman as brain, the one that I talked some days back. So that is where this piece comes in. Third, we move into the section of the mechanism of knowledge. So where basically I show that our brain does not, our senses are not enough sensible. Okay. So what we are dealing with a conditioned mind. So what my reality is, it is not your reality. What a reality, say a dog sees in yellow primarily. We see in 7 colors. A snake sees ultraviolet colors, right? So I cannot see an ultraviolet. So my reality of something coming in ultraviolet is not there, whereas for a snake it is. So their nature, we're different. There is a difference, inherent difference in every human being, every animal, everything. So in that context, there is no permanent reality, which again Penrose also, this is our Advaita concept. And recently Penrose, Dr. Penrose has also admitted the same thing. Then we move into the concept of then what is reasonable and what is logical, and that's where the concept of Nyaya Shastra comes in.
Correct.
And then we show a tunnel of, we talk about a roadmap of how to attain that self-knowledge, because you cannot know everything, but you can know yourself, right? So then we talk about what is the path of attaining that self-knowledge, and that is as per the Upanishad. And then how to get there is 2 types of vidya, paravidya, paravidya. So how to tunnel through the paravidya. Okay, that is the direct, the most creative, the most intuitive knowledge, because every other knowledge is already conditioned.
Correct.
So how to tunnel it through? It talks about that. And then we move into the 4th chapter, which is basically the architecture of religion. So where I try to dispel the fact that why monotheism is like this, because they try to create brotherhood system of brotherhood. Okay. In a desert, that's all you need for a group of people to stay together and survive, right? So there is what they had done. I'm not criticizing, but in the context of creating a brotherhood, they have sacrificed the idea of universal brotherhood. If I am creating a community in my own small town and all, but I'm sacrificing that universal brotherhood.
They
I'm
created
not-
an equation of us versus them.
yeah,
sort of.
that is how they have created. But in our concept, it is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Kutumbakam.
So we have always talked about the universal brotherhood, but not the small group of brother or commune. The word communism, from which this comes. This commune, it's in Christianity as well. We're talking about the pillars of religion. Like there are 4 pillars in any religion. There is a philosophy, there is a mythology, there is rituals, and there is some spiritual, metaphysical elements in all the religion.
So many scholars in current times, I would say, try to distinct religion from our Hindu Dharma, I would say. They say that the definition of religion does not fit on our Hindu Dharma. Is that correct?
Yes, absolutely. Because ours, the closest word would be panth. And we don't have, our is Dharma is all about balance, and this Dharma is directed towards Purushartha. Okay. So Purushartha is a very complex matrix.
So Sanatan cannot be categorized as the modern understanding of religion.
No, it cannot. It cannot. It absolutely cannot be. It is far beyond that idea. Okay. We talk about Purushartha, where Dharma,
Artha,
Kam, and Moksha all comes in. Dharma is balance. Artha is
resources.
Not only resources.
Money.
Yeah, it is that also. It is knowledge also.
Okay.
It is meaning of life. Zindagi ka kya arth reh gaya, right?
Right.
So why is that arth? The actual, if you go into the root of that word, it's not only हम लोग बहुत simply उसको अर्थशास्त्र इकोनॉमिक्स बोल के चला रहे, but artha means something which gives you the foundation to build upon something.
Correct.
A new thing. Just if you have money, you can invest and you can build something more, right? If you have knowledge, you can invest that knowledge into doing something and you can build on that. So anything that gives you that leverage is arth. Foundation. If you know the meaning of your life, you can build upon it. So you have to look at it from that point. It's not a simple, it's money or economics or like that.
That's also a misconstruct that I was thinking.
Yes, and also for then you'll have hit a problem. Why karma is there, right?
Correct. That is also misunderstood many times.
Yeah, because any action, so ka and ma coming together, any action, ka means action, ma is the limitation of that, or finitization of that action. So you need to build upon it, you need a targeted finite activity plan like you do. So your karma is directed towards achieving that artha, or it is very critically said between artha and moksha. So to reach from artha to with your artha, you want to reach to moksha. You need to do that calm. We need to have that calm, or you cannot do that because it is the doing of an action with a finite goal, with a finite thing, and not for yourself. Because the whole Kam Shastra is about giving pleasure to the other. It is not pleasure for myself. So in service of it, because only then you reach the moksha. And that's why this 4 is sequenced in that particular way.
Okay, there is a sequence, because I have heard debate about sometime placing artha before dharma or kama before artha. I have heard this from.
Actually, what happened is moksha, I don't think, was in the initial construct. Only dharma, artha, kama, and then moksha was added later. Okay, so that's all I know.
So when somebody was talking about Chanakya, so he used to judge people. I think it is written in Arthashastra. Ravi Chaudhary ji was speaking about it. He's one of the speakers. That people who used to be involved in ministry were tested on 3 things: dharma, artha, kama, and bhaya. If they can control their fear.
Yeah.
So moksha was not there. Bhaya, because that was administrative thing.
Yeah.
If somebody has control over bhaya,
True.
then they
True.
can.
Very true. Very true.
I think it has been flexible and
Yes.
people have.
Yes. Absolutely. And in this architecture of religion, there is an important section where I talk about giving reference from latest medical science, which says that we have a godlike gap in our mind. Okay. So God is a necessity for the brain, for the mind.
Are we born spiritual? Is that the same?
Kind of
section?
that, yeah.
Okay.
But there is a lot of tests that has happened, which actually takes us say that we are born spiritual. There is no way of getting out of it. Okay. Means God is a catch-all term. Don't take it in the sense. It's more of a spiritual. We are born for being spiritual, and if you are not able to satisfy that, that's a lacking, and that's a apurna that remains in our life. So it's not a choice. It's a need that we have to fulfill. And then finally, we talk about
the light of perfection.
Light of perfection, and there we say that okay. Infinite knowledge cannot be grasped through a finite lens. You have
Correct.
to open up your mind. And then we move on to talk about the infinite Ishwara and infinite Brahman, the states of consciousness, the trinity of body, mind, and consciousness. Again, this three-tier structure that comes repeatedly, where soul acts as a bridge, and love as a freedom from limited ego. And then we finally come up with a model of the spider's web of existence that is being referred in the Upanishads as well. And then I had made a small attempt to bring all those things together as a part of these, so that there is a lot of ambiguity, because a lot of scriptures say different ways. There is same thing is being have 10 different names, right? So what is applicable at when? So that model of reality is being created. And finally, we have a section where we talk about the involution of man into divine. So that's another Rishi Aurobindo has emphasized that fact multiple times and all throughout his life. That involution, the matter has to be dissolved in that conscious thing, and that's when man becomes divine. So this is primarily the content, I would say.
So sir, before we close, I want to ask you about two figures. Is it okay if I show these figures on the
Yeah, sure.
So the first one you're talking about is the Big Bang is called Mahasphota, or I think it is coming from the Visphota word.
Yeah,
right? Mahasphota, or the great explosion of the seed of the universe, or Bija. Here, one of the character here is asking impatiently, then are you trying to say that the universe started from a duality and then approached singularity? So this is the image that I'm referring to. Can you please shed some light upon it?
Okay, so this image is very complicated, as you can see. What is the page number?
It is 262.
So this image primarily talks about puts it into a axis of time and space. Okay. On your y-axis you have space, Akash, and on your x-axis you have time, or Yama. And then you have causality as the third axis. The asat part, the non-existent part, is giving birth to the existent part. So continuously there is a churn, which is non-existence, which is devoid of light. So as to say,
the blank space in the universe.
Yes, that is continuously giving birth to the sat or matter in that sense. And this is the entire domain of Ishwara. Brahman is above that, and this is Purush is also outside this orb. Outside this, outside Purush is outside this world, and this Prakriti, this entire field is the field of Maya. So long as we are in this orb, we are in Maya. part of it is asats, and the part is sat, and this is the total energy content of the universe. And then the universal laws are maintained with rhythm, which is unchanging. From this is what it talks about.
So then there's another figure, the spider web, giant wheel of reality. I think it will be very complicated to explain here, but what I want to ask about is the role of Savitri there that you have defined.
Yeah, see, this image is coming straight from the Upanishad talks about Jal or the Maya Jal in certain cases, and Ishwara is the Jalavan, the person who casts the net, the Jal, who throws the net is the Ishwar, and the Jal is this universe. Okay, so this is the symbolic representation of that. Yeah, it is divided into 8 quadrants where we say, okay, nature, knowledge, religion, consciousness, and in each it's divided into 5 parts as a Panchakosha. So okay, it has a Panchakosha, and as we go from top to bottom, it becomes more subtle. So the outer layer is a gross matter, and the inner layer is the strings. Okay, then for each layer, which is the most applicable yoga for that. Say for a person who is in an Annamaya Kosh, you have karma yoga. Okay. Who is in a pranamaya kosh, you have bhakti yoga. Who in a manomaya kosh, you have raj yoga. And then in Jnanamaya kosh, you have Gyan yoga. And then you have in the Anandamaya kosh, it is basically
you have reached that
moksha. Yeah, moksha. Yeah, that's the fourth, the Turiya state. So that's how this progressively it shows, and that line is the line of Savitri is the line of perfection. So as to tell ki in each field, whatever you do, there is a path through which your ultimate goal is to attain that perfection of Savitri. And that's our Gayatri mantra also, right? Addressed to Savitri. And we are able to do this. And what we are trying to say in this diagram is entropy increases as we move from inside to outside. Okay. Energy to mass conversion also happens, and information becomes from outside it is finite, inside it is infinite. So infinite, the information content or the because your options become limited as you. I'll give an example maybe that will help. Say when someone is born, he can be at that time, he could have been a cricketer, a doctor, an engineer, and he had infinite ways of expressing his talent in this universe, in this world. But over a period of time, if he doesn't have a good physique, he could not progress too much in sport. So he took science. Okay. In science, then he took either biology or physics, and depending on what he chose, or engineering, he moved in a particular path. So at your start, you had the infinite potential, but as you're aging day by day, then he gets into a job. His potentials are again
limited.
No, after you join in a management position, then you cannot switch and become a doctor next day.
Correct.
Normally.
Very difficult.
Yeah, very difficult. So that's what. So your infinite potential at birth, but at birth you were equally capable of becoming a doctor. But there is something, internal tendencies, propensities, your karma that has guided you to a certain path in life. Right. So that's what it is talking about.
It reminds me of something my chemistry teacher used to say in 11th, 12th. He used to say only Ram can have the entropy of 1. Nobody else can have, because he is the Brahman.
Right.
I never understood it at that time, but now I am sort of understanding.
Right.
So, sir, with this, I'll ask for your closing remarks, and we'll end this session.
No, I enjoyed this session talking to you all, as always. And thank you. I hope this book helps in people's journey towards attaining attaining their own perfection, their own Savitri in their life. with that and with the blessings of the divine, I close it.
I'm very sure, sir, it will help a lot of people, and those who will refer to this book, I'm sure it will help them a lot. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and I'll request you all to get your copy and read this book if you want to understand God, science, and reality, as the title says. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, sir, for this session. It has been a pleasure.